Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Shawn Johal of Elevation. Shawn, it's awesome to have you on the show.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
No problem. Super excited to have you on. And before I jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Shawn so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's doing. And Shawn's why is to help leaders find happiness and success. Shawn co-founded DLS or Dolls Lighting and LED lighting business in 2009. He implemented the scaling up growth system and led to the company to 3x its revenues well into the 8 figures. Shawn went on to found Elevation, a business growth coaching firm, working with entrepreneurs and their teams to help accelerate their growth while helping them find personal balance and happiness. Business coach, entrepreneur, and speaker, Shawn is also the author of The Happy Leader, a business and leadership fable releasing in September 2020. And he's the former president of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization in Montreal. Shawn remains an active member and mentor to numerous young entrepreneurs, helping them improve as business leaders and as individuals. He has been a finalist for the EY Entrepreneur of the Year, and Shawn sits on the board of directors for Champions for Life, a nonprofit foundation helping children develop their physical literacy. Shawn, are you ready to speak to the I Am CEO community?
I am ready. Thank you.
Awesome. Let's do it. So to kick everything off, you're doing so many phenomenal things, but I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started. Could you take us through your CEO story? What led you get started with your business?
Sure, absolutely. I won't go as far back as to when I was born. I don't want to bore the audience with that crazy story. I'll kind of kick it off, into my entrepreneurial journey when I joined a family business. That was in 2004, and that was in the lighting industry. That's where I came up in the roots. And it was a public company. It was a company that was founded by my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and my brother-in-law. So the in-laws, good times jumping into a family business.
Yes.
Very exciting. And my father-in-law, being very financially savvy, was able to take a small business and take it public on the TSX Stock Exchange, and then just started doing mergers and acquisitions with different businesses, and basically took the company from nothing to 50 million in revenue very quickly. Within 4 years. Amazing journey. So I came on board in that company as a national sales manager, basically handling sales. And, things were going really well. And then the economic crash happened in the U.S. Very devastating time for many, many people. Obviously, we're living through something similar now. I don't think we're seeing the full effects yet, but that's another discussion for another day.
Right.
But the company struggled, and what happened was, the family was not able to sustain that business, and it was kind of a very difficult time. A lot of learning, let me tell you. And then from that, from a lot of different and difficult situations, we sometimes have new opportunities that come up. My brother-in-law and I decided to relaunch and basically, buy the assets and bring back the employees, because we wanted to save all those employees' jobs. And we were able to work out a deal where we could relaunch the company under a new name, DALS, Dolls Lighting, in 2009. And that was when the new journey started from, coming from the ashes, if you will, of this terrible situation in the family, and, just starting over from scratch.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate you for telling that story. And I think so many times, as you said, and I think we even talked about when we first connected about how kind of like the ashes, as you said, sometimes happen, gives an opportunity for certain opportunities we didn't see before, and us to kind of show and sometimes invent ourselves in a different way to kind of see the light.
So true. I totally agree with you. It was a really tough time, but obviously looking back, phenomenal learning. A phenomenal journey along the way. Really taught me a lot about myself, about how to run a business, and especially when you're coming out of a tough time, it's a lot of desperation. So you're just kind of jumping in, taking a lot of big risks.
Yeah, you just kind of have to increase your scrappiness, if that's the right word, in order to make things happen. So I know you've been able to do that, and you have your business now, Elevation. Could you take us through what you're doing with your clients there, how you serve your clients? And then, of course, I want to hear about your book as well, too, and all the awesomeness you have there.
Sure, absolutely. So, I'd like to tell the story of why this new business Elevation came about. It was really the fact that in 2013 in the LED lighting business, we hit a bad wall. I mean, we had inherited teams, so we didn't really vet the employees, right? We were just taking teams that already existed. And then we started realizing that our team really wasn't the best team that we could have. I'll give you one story as a terrible example of what type of thing that was happening. We had 2 customer service people, and we didn't have enough money for a receptionist. So we asked them, well, can you just answer the phone, as phone calls come in? and they really disliked each other so much and had no teamwork that every time the phone would ring, they would just stare at each other and stare at the phone, and no one would answer. And it was, and my partner and I would be, in another office, and we could look at them and see them avoiding pick up the phone, and we're freaking out because customers are calling and they won't even answer, for gosh sake. So that was one of the things. As a small example, there were bigger issues than that, and so we really hit this wall. We had no new products being developed, and what happened was one of our big competitors launched a product line that was directly competing with us, to the point, Gresh, where they actually took out all the same products we had at $1 less.
Oh, wow.
It just that insanely difficult and an attack directly on us. But it was, again, a blessing in disguise. Super happy that happened because it woke us up. It was a big slap in the face. And we realized that we were not innovating anymore. We weren't disrupting our market. We weren't moving forward with technology. And so what we did is that's when we found a coach, a woman named Cleo, very, very wonderful coach. She's still coaching today. And she was one of the first scaling up coaches in our city. And the thing to remember is that we come from Montreal, so we have a lot of French-speaking population where we live, and most of our staff where we are French. So we had to find a coach who could actually speak in French. She was the only one, so she had the market cornered. And so we brought her in, and she, at that time, scaling up didn't exist. It was called The Rockefeller Habits, which is the first book that Vern Harnish wrote. And she came in and she helped us implement all the methodologies, so daily huddles, weekly meetings, quarterly, strategic planning sessions with a lot of strategic tools. And basically we started looking at the 4 big pillars in business, which are people, strategy, execution, and cash. And so basically, without going through all the details, we did that for 6 years and counting. We're still doing it. And we had a lot of success with the methodology. It brought a tremendous amount of alignment, vision, and focus to the organization. And so I've lived it. I actually put in place this methodology with this coach. And so that's a very easy sell to clients moving forward, who I help now. So that's where the journey happened. And about 18 months ago, I'm so passionate about the methodology that I decided to pursue being a business growth coach full time. And now I'm working with approximately 20 clients right now, mostly across Canada, one in the US, and helping them implement this same methodology in their businesses.
That's extremely powerful. I appreciate you again telling, and I think so many people look for people to take their own medicine, so to speak, and to hear that you've been able to kind of execute on those different aspects, kind of like different, I guess rungs of a chair, or different legs of a chair is a better way to say it. But it allows you that opportunity to really grow and scale, because it sounds like if you have one of those kind of out of whack, everything can completely fall down and fall apart.
Yeah, you're so right about that. And having lived it and understanding that, it's a program, it's a methodology, there's ups and downs, there's good things, there's things that are maybe not as good. Being able to go into a client's place and say, well, actually, I did exactly this, this way. Here's how it turned out for me. I think we could really, have success at your place with it. That experience, I think, is really beneficial to help them see, okay, this guy knows kind of what he's doing, and he's also made some mistakes that he could share with us. And so it's a really beneficial way of moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I love kind of like so many times you hit those roadblocks, or you hit that wall, or whatever that might be. Obviously, as you said, we're going and experiencing one now all across the board. But I think that when you understand that there's obviously the difficulty, but there's a method sometimes you can take to kind of maybe not completely get rid of it, but to get you take those steps to kind of continue to get better. I think that's extremely powerful.
I agree with you completely. Absolutely.
Awesome. So what would you consider to be like what I like to call your secret sauce? And that's the thing that kind of sets you apart and makes you unique. It could be for yourself, or it could also be for your business.
Sure, absolutely. So I think it's very different because not that many coaches are entrepreneurs. And so what I explain when I'm going into my clients is I'm not there to show them tools. I'm not there to be a moderator or just a guide. My goal is to come there, and I always put this into my agreement. It's a business partnership proposal. And I explain to them, I'm coming in there as a partner. I want to be clear that because I'm an entrepreneur and I have quite a few ideas, and I've seen, I spend time with a lot of other entrepreneurs, I want you to be comfortable with the fact that I'm not just going to come here and help you along the way. I'm actually going to participate, and I'm going to give you ideas. I'm going to challenge you. And when I don't agree with something, I'm really going to put it in your face and say, well, why are we doing it that way? Are you sure this is the right way to do it? I'm going to challenge you on the type of people you have, because, we have the wrong people forever. And that's one thing I noticed going into businesses. They protect people. It's an emotional thing. And I want to be careful. You want to be, empathetic and understand where people are coming from. But at the same time, someone who's not a fit at one company could be a great fit elsewhere. But, you got to be able to identify that very quickly. And so, I think for me, it's really taking the entrepreneur aspect and bringing it to coaching, which is a little bit different from a lot of coaches, which may have more, an academic background or kind of having studied a program. I think I can bring something that's a little more edgy, and not everybody likes it. So there are some clients that feel a little bit, they just want the tools and let us do it. And usually that doesn't work out as well for us. I really like to go in there and say, well, no, I'm going to challenge you. Like, you better be ready to be challenged, because how are you going to grow if not?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you kind of have to have those challenges, as you said, to kind of show you how much you can do. And I think that I love that partnership piece that you talked about when you start with a client, because I think so many times the, I guess, aloneness of entrepreneurship and business, the frustrations and a lot of those things, sometimes it's hard to find somebody to lean on, and especially like your employees, the people that are on your team, because obviously you're supposed to, they have a delicate balance. So I love that partnership piece, because I think that it provides you that opportunity. And I think once you kind of set the table, so to speak, you're able to kind of understand, like, even that tough love, the challenges are actually meant to help you grow and to reach those goals.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. You got to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, we're not perfect. We have a lot of things we can improve. And that's why I get in there. I explain to them that it's a process. You got to be able to respect the process, understand that there are going to be some road bumps, roadblocks along the way. There's things that are going to be not perfect that we're going to look at. And it's going to be some tough decisions to make. And that's usually the hardest part, when someone has to look and say, okay, well, that person just doesn't fit our culture. Right. It's time to let them go. That's never fun. That's always a tough decision to make. But when they replace that person with an A player, someone who truly, truly fits the values, the culture, and understands the success outcomes, man, that it just changes their view, and then it becomes easier after that for the next rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of have to get over the biggest hurdle, so to speak, and then it starts to become a little bit easier after that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be an app, a book, or a habit that you have, or even more about your book, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
So I have a lot of them, and I want to make sure I kind of provide the audience with the best one. Mm-hmm. For me, it's kind of a two-sided coin. So it's meditation. I'm someone who practices a tremendous amount of meditation and visualization. I also integrate that with my clients, which is really bizarre, because we'll be at a meeting, and then I'll say, okay, guys, break. Everybody's about to pull out their phones. I'm like, whoa, wait, actually, the break is not a phone break. It's a meditation break, and we're going to do a meditation right now. It's a very popular thing these days, but Gresh, you'd be shocked how little people do it. I mean, anytime I integrate this with a company, it's always, 1 out of 8 people have tried it, 2 out of 8 people max. Like, you'll never have a bunch of people in that room who have done it consistently. And so, what I explain to them is I say, well, we just did a super heavy strategic session. Now you're going to go on break. You're going to look at your phone. You're going to freak out because you have 5 fires to put out. And now you're going to come back in 10 minutes. You won't have time to deal with those fires, by the way, because our meeting's all day. You're going to come back, and now I'm expecting you to have a clear mind to jump into a whole execution module. It's just not realistic. And the same thing happens in work every single day, I think. We get caught up in answering emails and getting on phone calls and dealing with the day-to-day stuff. How often do we take a step back to really just breathe and say, okay, am I working on the right things right now? Do I need to go take a walk? Do I need to get away from my computer screen? So that's something that I'm doing myself quite a bit, and that I teach people. And I've even taught some companies how to integrate a meditation practice into their companies, where they can have a meditation room, or they can have a space for employees to go and have that clarity of mind, or even go outside. And so for me, I would say that's my number one hack, because it really keeps me grounded and balanced. But most importantly, it allows me to work on the right things and not get caught up in just, the rat race.
Yeah. No, that's extremely powerful. And, as you said, I think so many times I always say, like, every entrepreneur's second job is firefighter, because there's so many things that are popping up, and you have to continue to kind of jump from things to jump to things. And I think so many times we can try to stop the fires in terms of, like, I don't want any fires at all, but I don't feel like that is all the way going to be the realism of running a business and managing people. So having those practices you can kind of lean on, and just make sure that you do take a step back, understanding you do have to, deal with that fire. But if you're able to kind of meditate on a regular basis, you have it integrated in your business, that's an extremely powerful thing.
Yeah, I love it. And I've seen really great benefits in people who, never thought they'd try it in their lives who have found ways to integrate it. And there's so many different forms. I explained to people, some people are not able to sit there 20 minutes or 15 minutes or even 5 minutes. And I said, you know what, go do a walking meditation. You can just walk, but don't start, don't be on your phone. Don't be thinking about what you need to do. Just concentrate on the way you're walking, step by step, moving forward. And it just helps you get some clarity of mind.
Yeah, I appreciate you for breaking that down. So you're saying like the meditation doesn't always have to be, I guess, the typical way of meditation or maybe the popular way of meditation. There's different ways to meditate, but the idea is that you're, I guess, taking yourself away or maybe divorcing yourself away from the distractions.
Yeah, I mean, there's eating meditation. People don't realize this. You could just be eating instead of being, again, on your phone or worrying about the next phone call you need to make. You could just be concentrating on the food that you're eating and appreciating it and just taking bite by bite and actually tasting the food, something we don't do very often, it's just something crazy. There's so many different types. There's a gratitude meditation where you can just, be thankful for the people you have in your life, your colleagues, the people around you. I listened to a wonderful podcast recently with Ken Honda out of Japan. He was saying, he does money meditation, which is that he's actually thoughtful and thankful for any money that he has. And when he spends money, he's actually thoughtful and thanks the world he's able to spend this money and give it to someone else. I mean, you could use it in any way you want. But what you notice to all the meditation is that you're in the present moment. You're not thinking about what you're about to go have to do, in the next hour, the next day. And when you think about it, we spend most of our lives in the past or in the future. Very rarely do we spend time in the present moment. So I think it's important for business leaders to integrate that into their companies. It'll help their employees be less stressed, which I think is super important, and bring more balance to their work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, being present in the moment that we have, whatever that is, whether we're eating food or we're thinking about the money and all those different things is so important because, as you said, we're always thinking about what's ahead or what's behind, and that takes us and robs us of the gift of that present moment. So I definitely appreciate that. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you would tell your younger business self.
Great question. I would say the number one nugget is, something that you see said a lot and quite often from some of the best business leaders in the world. And it comes from Jim Collins. It's really first who, people first above all else. I see it time and time again going into businesses, the wrong people in the wrong seats. We're not taking care of the people that we have there. And so, I really explain to people, your process has to be all encompassing. Meaning from the day that you're going to start recruiting someone, are you writing what we call a scorecard that really tells the person what success looks like? I got this from a really wonderful friend and author, Robert Glazer, who wrote Elevate. He explained to me a long time ago, and he sent us, examples. He actually in his job descriptions put something called what success looks like in 6 months and what success looks like in 12 months. And you tell a future story to the employee of all the amazing things they're already going to have accomplished. And what this is not only does it serve as a vision, but the employee looks at it and says, well, I can do that. Like, I think I can really accomplish this. And so it attracts the right type of potential candidates to apply for your company, which is really, really great. And the other part, of the people side that is not done almost anywhere that I see is what we call systematic recognition. So, I force my clients to systematically recognize their employees every single quarter without fail. Those that are doing really well, obviously the employees that are going above and beyond. And I always explain to clients, this is not about, giving them just money. It's not about saying, okay, you get a bonus because you did good work. Obviously, bonuses are integrated into a lot of companies. What I'm saying is, why not get the entire strategic team, 8 people, let's say, for example, you go to a store, you buy a card, it costs you 10 cents, packs of 10 are very inexpensive. And in that card, you write, listen, Josh, for example, love the work you've done over the last quarter. You've been an exceptional employee. We absolutely appreciate everything you do day in, day out. We just want to give you this card and sign it from the entire strategic team. Thank you for being you. That person's going to go home with this card and they're going to show it to their spouse, their friends, their family, and they're going to feel so appreciated by you. And that's going to keep them in your company on the long run. This employee retention. So I always try to explain to business leaders and to clients, you really have to take care of your people. You have to find the right people. And when you have them, that's not good enough. You really have to keep recognizing them and taking care of them when they're in your business.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful. Recruitment doesn't end when they're hired. It continues, day in and day out. And it reminded me of this quote that I often remind myself of is that, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And
I
like you
love that.
said, giving that card and showing, obviously people like bonuses and things like that, but really gets and pulls that heartstring is really showing the value that a person has provided and showing that recognition for that value that they provide and all the awesome things that they've been doing. So I feel like ultimately work is a way in which we can kind of be appreciated and we can kind of give back to the world, give back. And I think that when we are appreciated for the things that we do, it's an extremely powerful thing. And I absolutely love the story aspect. I'm really big on stories. And I think, like as you said, when you're sitting down with someone and you don't just say, I want you to hit these bullet points, but you literally paint that picture of what a person, what a successful person in that position would look like. I think it's something that connects with the person again to that that human aspect, but also, as you said, gives those kind of metrics maybe or way in which they can achieve that that story as well too.
Absolutely. Stories are powerful. And when people see it woven that way and clearly explained to them, it's just it's such an easy, stepping stone for them to reach towards a milestone that they can go after. I've seen that it's completely changed the way people recruit when they're able to put that story in there. It really attracts the right candidates and many more of them, in what's been a tough job market for a long time up until now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Shawn, what does being a CEO mean to you?
For me, a CEO is understanding your leadership style and finding the best way to implement and use that in your company. So, I think what often happens is that, we have different leadership styles and we might try to transform ourselves sometimes into different types of leaders. I think that could be a mistake in some cases. For me, being a CEO means understanding your leadership type. Are you more of a collaborative leader? Are you more of a even if you're more of a directive leader, that's okay. It means you have to surround yourself with different people that can complement you. Or you're more of an empathetic leader. Or you're someone who's really great at listening. So figure out the leadership style that's best for you. Surround yourself with people after that who can support you and complement your style, on your executive teams and the teams that you have around you. And then go out there and, show that example to your people of that leadership style. Most often a company is going to be a representation of the CEO's vision and their style. And so you want to make sure that, I always tell CEOs it's better to work on your strengths than to keep trying to fix your weaknesses. And I see too many people spending time trying to, I got to fix this weakness. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. That's okay. Find someone else who can take care of those weaknesses for you. And you focus on being, your best strength. That doesn't mean you have to be charismatic or, an extrovert. I think there's this myth around, charismatic leaders. I think an introvert can be as charismatic as an extrovert. It's really about the way you go about understanding your style and then using that style to the best of your abilities and hiring your team and working with the people in your organization.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful. And I think it's definitely enlightening, for the introverts, for people that might be listening to this as well, too, as there's not one path towards success. There's not one path to be a leader. And I think, as you said, once you kind of understand yourself, you begin to understand like the different strengths and weaknesses sometimes we have inherently, like introverts. I've always heard, and I'm borderline introvert. I've always heard that, those are people that listen a lot better. Sometimes they can be more empathetic because they are able to put themselves in other people's shoes, and the different things like that provide you that opportunity to play to those strengths, to lean in on those strengths, and to be that successful leader that you can be.
Yeah, I absolutely love your example because I think, extroverts have a much harder time listening. I mean, it's just a fact, right? They want to talk, and I'm an extrovert and I have a hard time with it. I have to really, hold myself back and say, okay, it's time to listen. Shut the heck up. You give the other person the floor. It's important to not always be talking. So yeah, I think the old adage of, we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should be listening twice as much as we talk is very true. And introverts, introverted leaders do an amazing job of that, I've noticed, and I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Shawn, truly appreciate all the awesomeness you provided. Appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you, get a copy of the book, and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Happy Leader book, it's going on Amazon and, full scale sale on September 13th. That's the launch date. The reason we chose that day is it's Positive Thinking Day in the world. And so that's why we want to do it. So you'll be able to find that, The Happy Leader, and then you can find that also at my website, which is ShawnJohal.com. You'll find all the information there too with the book and with all the coaching services that we do there. And you can always reach me at Shawn@ShawnJohal.com. Easiest way to reach out to me, and I'll get back to you pretty quickly. I'm kind of obsessed with productivity, and so I'll get back to you quick.
Awesome. Well, truly appreciate that, Shawn. We will have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, just so that it's even easier for people to reach out to you and get a copy of the book, find out about all the awesome things you're doing. But I appreciate you, my friend, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Well, thank you, Gresh. Really appreciate you taking the time and having me on the show. It's much appreciated.